Did you know you can save money with the McDonald's app every single day? Yeah, I was surprised too. Deals every day right at your fingertips. I love a good deal, but the McDonald's app takes gaming the system to a whole new level. Just the other day, I treated myself to a 10-piece chicken nugget for only $1. Yeah, you heard that right. Just $1. All you have to do is order in the app. And get this, you can grab that deal once a week through December 2nd. The first time I discovered the deals in the app, I was honestly shook. I had to tell my whole group chat about it, and now we're always comparing who got the best app deal of the week. Plus, ordering ahead, total game changer, especially when I need a quick lunch or a treat after a long day. So why wait? Save money every day with the McDonald's app. Download it, get those deals, and treat yourself. You deserve it. Valid through December 2nd, 2024 at participating McDonald's. Offer valid one time per week. Excludes delivery. You must opt into rewards. So go check out McDonald's deals.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Motherhood. 1 minute, you're mom of the year.
I love you, Mommy.
Then the next, not so much. From bath time to bullying, from potty training to puberty, parenting is full of challenges. But one thing is for certain, you are not alone. Welcome to Modern Mom Probs. I'm your host, author, mother, parenting expert, Tara Clarke. Join me while we tackle today's modern mom problems.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Modern Mom Probs. I'm your girl, Tara, and here we are talking about modern mom problems, trying to solve the world's modern mom problems. And if we can't do that, hey, at least we're having fun talking about them. If you like what we're doing on the podcast, let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram or hit me up via email. It's tara@modernmomprobs.com. I would love to hear from you. If you really like what we're doing, be sure to leave a review or a rating on the show. I love to hear your feedback because I appreciate each and every one of you. Today, we are talking about raising good humans, which really should be the goal of parenting, I think. And I am joined by the author of the book, Raising Good Humans, a mindful guide to breaking the cycle of reactive parenting and raising kind, confident kids. Hunter Clarke-Fields is a mindfulness mentor, coach, and host of the Mindful Mama podcast, which is a great podcast, by the way. You should totally check it out. She has more than 25 years of experience in meditation and yoga practices and has taught mindfulness to thousands worldwide. Hunter, welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're here.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we were talking for, like 10 minutes at least, like covering all kinds of different things, like the fact that we both have the same last name, plus or minus an E, and all of the different things, talking about podcasting, talking to celebrities, all of the stuff. But today we're really here to talk about your book, Raising Good Humans, which I love that title. I think that is so great. And I'm going to say the entire thing, a mindful guide to breaking the cycle of reactive parenting and raising kind, confident kids. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, me. I am, I don't know. That's a big question.
Okay. Let me say, what have you done in the last, 3 years? Let's say that.
In the last 3 years, well, I've gone on a really bad failed backpacking trip with my daughter. We went to see Cyndi Lauper last weekend. I've written another book, a follow-up book to Raising Good Humans Every Day. I've gone to Italy with my husband for our 20th wedding anniversary trip, which is amazing. Yeah, I've taught people to teach mindful parenting, and I like to travel and have done things like that. Things are pretty good at the moment. I mean, I'm not here though because things were good. I'm here because things were really bad when my kids were little.
Well, that's what so I was going to lead into that one. How old is your daughter now? Because I was trying to get a sense of time on this in this book.
Sure. Yeah. The daughter that was the catalyst for Facing Good Humans, she's now 17. And we have a great relationship. Like, I'm really happy to say, like, that was my biggest fear, was having a teenager that hated me, and just having from my relationship with my father was like damaged for many, many, many years because of just the way things were growing up. And that was my biggest fear. And yeah, my daughter Maggie and I are really close. She's a senior. We're visiting colleges and stuff like that. And she talks to me about all kinds of stuff still, which is like, I just love that. And I feel it's like the biggest joy of my life.
I love that. I have a 12-year-old son, and he and I are very close. And it takes a long time, and I think a lot of work, to get to that point where they can confide in you.
Yeah, I think so. It's about the relationship you're building all the way along, you know? And I think that to have a preteen or a teen that wants to talk to you, you kind of have to make yourself into a good listener at a lot of different ages, you know, and not someone who sort of shuts them down. Yeah, I remember listening to Maggie when she was 4, like telling me just really boring stories about like watching My Little Pony and like the whole, you know, plot line. And I'm just like, okay, but I'm watching my child and I'm practicing to listen. I'm practicing to be present and listen to her. And now she tells me really boring stories about like the Pokemon quest that she went on last week, but also some really interesting and good things too.
Yeah. That's funny about the Pokemon. Does she play Pokemon Go?
No, yeah, she does.
Yeah.
I don't.
We did that during the pandemic. That's why I asked, because that was like how we got out of the house and walked around and did stuff during the pandemic. We don't play it anymore, but there was definitely a time. But I want to talk about when she was younger, because when I was reading your book, I saw a lot of similarities between Maggie and my son. And that sort of also sent me on my conscious parenting journey. So tell me what the catalyst was for this book.
Yeah, I mean, so to kind of set it back a little further, about the year before I got pregnant, I finally was able to start like a sitting meditation practice, and it really was life-changing for me. It really helped steady me in ways that I hadn't experienced for, you know, all my life until then. And I remember being like big and pregnant and in a meditation group and being like, rubbing that belly and being like, oh yeah, we got this. Look at us. This is going to be so peaceful. We're like meditating in the womb. Oh my God.
It's like exactly what you think that you'd be hoping for when you read all the parenting books. You're like, this is it. I am Mother Earth. I am Mother Goddess.
Totally. Yeah. And Maggie just came out and she was an intense kid from the get-go. Her birth was intense. Everything was intense. And she's a highly sensitive kid. And, she, you know, I'm a highly sensitive person too. So it's not that surprising. And I was I think now looking back, I can recognize that I was dealing with some postpartum anxiety and just the anxiety of like, oh my God, I don't want to F up this human being that I care so much. This is the most important thing to me. And then when she started walking and talking and 18 months, 2 years old, and, you know, I didn't really know what I was doing. And she was so sensitive that if I said the things that my parents said to me, it was like kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. And we felt like she was like a ticking time bomb. It was so hard. And my temper came up and I yelled at her and I could see I was scaring her. I could see like this is going in a really bad way. And just the overwhelming guilt, you know, was there for the temper.
The words coming out of your mouth could have easily been my sharing my story, because I've recounted this many times, whether it's on my podcast or other people's podcasts, where I say that between 18 months and 3 years old, my son was a ticking time bomb. That's exactly what I say. If we went out anywhere, we knew that we would have to get back at a certain time before he would explode. And it's interesting that you're saying the things that your parents would have said to you would have, caused her to go off. I'm sure that was the case with my son as well. And I remember one time, it was really the one and only time, he had this like squishy tomato toy. It was like a Century toy, essentially, a squishy tomato. And he popped it too hard and it leaked everywhere. And I had just about had it at that point that day. And I screamed at him. And it was literally the one and only time that I ever screamed at him. And it was as if the words of my mother were coming out of my mouth. And I knew right then and there, that was the one and only time that was ever going to happen. That was never going to happen again. I was never going to yell at him the way that I had been yelled at as a child. And it's true. And that was the case. And I'm happy.
Impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And like I said, it takes a lot of work. And I'm happy for people who write books like you do, because people need this help. Like just because I happen to be someone who has done a lot of work at this, because like I said, I read a lot of parenting books. I'm so deeply involved in this as a movement. So I get it. But I remember thinking that day, like there has to be a better way. Right? Like that to me was like my tipping point. And I also had postpartum anxiety. So everything that you were saying, Hunter, I was like checking the boxes of like, she and I are the same. Not only do we share a last name, we share a history. We have shared experiences. And to the point where when Jack was born, he had such wild tantrums that many times people, when they have like 2-year-olds or 3-year-olds, they start to think about having other children. That was like the last thought in my mind, that I could never like possibly be like, oh yeah, let me introduce another child into this family. I was like, no, we were like in survival mode at that point. So I should also mention that Jack is an only child. So
that's fine. Maggie has a sister. Now that I'm thinking, I'm like, how did I ever get around to because I guess they're exactly like 3 years apart. So yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, because I was really in the thick of it when she was, 2.3 years old.
Yeah. And it's hard. And for parents who don't have children that are highly sensitive, that are going through something like that, it's hard to explain that to them, because it's not their shared experience. It's our shared experience, but it is not their shared experiences. So at what point then did you realize, so my day was the squishy tomato. That was my incident. What was your incident that you knew there has to be a better way?
I mean, I don't remember what it was, but I remember like just crying out, feeling terribly guilty outside her room and hearing her crying inside her room, and just knowing that I'd done it again. I had, yelled at my kid, and I had scared her again, and just feeling like, oh my God, I'm a terrible parent, and I'm one of those people, like, I'm kind of used to being good at the things I do. Like, I'm like, I was the A student. I could go to school, grad school. I could do the things. I could get, artwork into shows in New York, all kinds of different things. And then here was this thing. And I thought I could just decide how I want to parent my kid. And and I could do it. I assumed that I could do it. And it brought me to my knees, because I couldn't change it with what I was doing. What I was doing wasn't stopping this temper from arising. And I was following all these great parenting, coaches and teachers. And there would be a lot of really good advice that I really, truly still believe in about how to respond to your kids that I could not implement at all, because my stress response just was, and so I looked into that and I started to learn more about that. I realized like there's stuff from the world of mindfulness, which I had been studying and reading about since I was a teenager, because I was desperate for some help. And I realized like there's all this information coming out. There's all this information from the world of mindfulness about how to be less reactive and how to be calm in the face of everything life throws at you, that really needs to talk to this world of parenting. So I had to dive back into that. I had to go back into that, because I would listen to advice on how to respond, and I would just feel worse. because then I would know how I should respond, and still something unskillful would come out of my mouth. Still I would yell. So I really had to go into like really learning how to calm my stress response.
Yeah. And I find, and I don't know if this is true with Maggie though, too, nowadays you see a lot of experts providing scripts. And my child was not the type of child that was going to respond to those scripts. And so then that makes you feel worse. And I've heard that from so many parents in my community, that they're trying the scripts. They want it to work. They have the right things to say. And I'm using my fingers in quotes there. They have the right things to say, and it's not working on their child. And so I've found that if you have to throw the scripts out, then that's where your relationship with your child comes in, so that you know them well enough to be able to know the right things to say in that situation. Because my child is different from Maggie, and Maggie is different from her sister, and all of that.
And one of the things, though, that's interesting, because I have scripts on my website. You can go buy them. But the thing about the scripts is that we want to know what to say. We want to get to that. How do I respond to my kids? And it's harder to do sort of the inner work. And what happens is we have this thing that we want to say, but inside we haven't been able to calm down. We haven't been, we have these words to say that are calm, loving, compassionate words, right? For example. And then, but inside, if we're starting to lose it, if we're starting to get reactive and stuff like that, our kid really sees the disconnect there. And our kids have amazing BS meters. And I would guarantee that, like, you know, a big majority of the time, the reason why those scripts aren't working is because what you're exuding, your energy, what they can feel your feelings. If you're saying something, but you're like inside, I'm like just holding it together. They really can see the disconnect there, and it really falls really, really flat. In fact, there was this one time with Maggie when she was older where, you know, and so one of the things I teach in Raising Good Humans and Mindful Parenting are like some like iMessages, some of those things to say. And we were in the car, and I think I was like reflectively listen to her, and I was like, okay, but I was like starting to really get triggered. And I said something like, sounds like, you know, you're feeling really whatever. And she was like, oh, I hate when you talk to me like that, Mom. And I'm like, honey, I'm like, it's really hard for me right now. I don't want to yell at you. And I'm trying to, because she was in this place where she was kind of demanding a response from me. And I was like, I don't want to yell at you, but I'm having a real hard time. So I'm really trying right now. I'm really struggling. And this is why it sounds the way it does, is because I'm really struggling right now. And she really got that, because it was just this like such a human, authentic, connecting moment. And we all just kind of chilled for however many minutes. And then we talked about it later. But just, I love those moments where, you know, it really has to be honest and congruent with what you're feeling, you know, because our kids can feel the difference.
Yeah, they can. And it's funny that you said that she had said it about like, Mom, I hate when you talk like that, because my son at some point, this was years ago when I was trying to do the scripts, he would say the same thing. He's like, oh, don't talk like that. Because when I speak like that, it's different from my average speak. So even if I was regulated and calm, he can tell that I'm saying a line, or I'm saying a script, that's something that I wouldn't necessarily say. And I feel like maybe he thought that like he was in trouble when I was speaking to him like that. And so, like you said, like when you sort of take down your guard and just speak to them as a person, as you would like your own partner, then they say, oh, okay, I understand. Mom's feeling frustrated. She's lacking the words to say. You know what? I'm also lacking the words to say. I feel angry right now, and I don't know how to communicate that. Mommy also feels angry. She doesn't know how to communicate that. And you're right. I think that's where the bond comes in.
I think what you're saying, like this piece about talking as you would talk to your partner or as another adult, this is really key. And I talk about this a lot in the work, because people want specific things to say, and it really does help to learn more skillful language. I don't want listener to be scared of like learning something that maybe if you grew up with a lot of unskillful language in your house and that's coming out of your mouth, don't be afraid of learning something that's more skillful because it will sound awkward for a little while. That's okay. But also, like what you're suggesting, Tara, is such a great shortcut to say, like, how would I say this to a good friend? How would I say this to a friend? And that's so helpful because, you know what, the way we talk to kids doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like comes down to us from the past, and it's just kind of in the ether. But like if you had a friend, for instance, who came to you and was like, oh, I just like cut my elbow, you wouldn't be like, oh, you're fine. You wouldn't dismiss it. If you had a friend like upset about something, you wouldn't say, don't cry. Like all these things that we habitually say to kids, like we would never talk like that to our friends. We wouldn't bark orders at our friends. And we do that to kids like a toddler. Come over here, go over there, put on your shoes, get in the car, get out of the car, take off your shoes, put on your jacket. It's like a constant barrage of orders and commands all day long. If that was our friend, we wouldn't do that because it's different, right? And so that is a really, really skillful shortcut that you're suggesting right there.
Yeah, it took me years, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, years to get to that point because, and you speak about this in the book, it becomes autopilot behaviors to say, put your shoes on, get in the car, do this, do this, do this. It takes a lot of work to take a step back and be mindful enough to ask your children a request in a certain way, to ask them a question versus barking a command, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about these autopilot behaviors, because I think a lot of parenting just falls right into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not aware, I think, a lot of times of the way we speak. I was at like you've probably been there, Longwood Gardens. I was there. No, maybe you haven't. It's too far away. I was at this garden center place. Yeah. It's amazing, everyone. You all should go. It's amazing. Yeah. And we were walking by a dad who had two kids in a wagon. And he said, if you hit your brother one time, you're going to get a smack or something like that. And I was just like, thought to myself, like, he's not thinking about what he's saying. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, right? To like threaten to hit a child who's hitting, like that logically doesn't make any sense, but he's not thinking about that. This is just something his parents said to him. It's just coming out of his mouth. And that happens all the time. And even if we're not threatening to, smack our kids, we're doing all kinds of things that just come out of our mouths without thinking about maybe the ramifications of what these words are, be it the orders and commands and things like that. And we do get on autopilot, and that's what the brain likes to do, because the brain does want to take shortcuts. Mindfulness is effort heavy for the brain, right? To practice, to be more aware. The brain only has a certain body budget, and it does want to take shortcuts, and that's natural that it should do that. But it makes it so that, we're just kind of recycling sort of these old things. So we might want to think about it a little bit more.
The holiday season is now approaching, but at BlueNile.com, there's always something to celebrate. Whether you're looking for everyday elegance to elevate a casual outfit or a statement piece worthy of your biggest holiday looks, Blue Nile brings sparkle to any occasion. With some of the highest quality standards in the industry and jewelry experts on hand to answer any questions, you can be confident in your purchase. Right now, celebrate the season with 30% off at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Need new glasses or want a fresh new style? Warby Parker has you covered. Glasses start at just $95, including anti-reflective, scratch-resistant prescription lenses that block 100% of UV rays. Every frame's designed in-house with a huge selection of styles for every face shape. And with Warby Parker's free home try-on program, you can order 5 pairs to try at home for free. Shipping is free both ways, too. Go to warbyparker.com/covered to try 5 pairs of frames at home for free. warbyparker.com/covered.
It definitely takes a lot of work. I was recently at Trader Joe's, of all places, and a father did something similar. to what you mentioned there. And my first thought was like, oh gosh, like I felt so sad that it was just like such a natural reaction for him just to say whatever it was that he had said, versus like taking the moment to sort of think through something and then have maybe a better outcome. I think maybe it was like a baby that was crying or something like that. And he was like yelling at the baby that was crying, but like that was only going to escalate the situation versus to sort of calm it down a little bit. But that's why we're having these conversations, right? To spread awareness for the mindfulness in parenting. That's the whole reason why all of this exists.
And that's why I don't want people also to like feel bad if they're trying some new language. Maybe they're trying something that comes like from a script and it feels awkward at first, because you may have some very unskillful language that just rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense.
It's okay for it to be awkward as you learn. You know, for me, I really had to be like, okay, breathe. Okay. You're really upset right now. You know, for me to reflect back my kids' stuff to them, it took a lot of practice at first. And Maggie will tell you, I was really bad at it for a while. And now it's like second nature. Like, and with daughter number 2, she got all the benefit. Like it was so much better, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, if somebody's having a problem or someone's hurt or upset, they don't need, like, it's terrible when you know, if you go to your partner and you say you are upset about something, you want to talk about it, and they say, well, why don't you just X, Y, or Z? You're like, you want to kill them, right? And it's the same for our kids. If we just offer them solutions or solve all their problems right away, we take away, it's kind of like a vote of no confidence in their ability. B, they've got to sit in the messiness, you know, of things for a little while. And it, you know, when we can just say, oh, wow, that seems awkward, or imagine that was hard. I imagine you were frustrated there, right? Then they're like, yeah. And that makes them feel really seen and heard. And it really takes the temperature down. It helps them have some clarity to solve their own problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's a huge thing too, is giving them the independence in order to understand their feelings, right? Help them connect the dots on why they got upset or how they got upset, and what to do about it going forward, right? So that they don't maybe repeat past behaviors that lead to that particular outcome.
Yeah, I mean, the best way for them to learn it. Mistakes are a great way to learn, but they've got to feel the discomfort of it.
Right, right.
That's how we all learn the best, right?
Right,
That's
exactly.
how you learned amazingly.
Right, and it's awkward and it's hard and you do have to push through. But I think it's so important for them to be independent, especially in their own social, emotional learning, because that's where the growth comes from. You know, we can only tell them so much. They have to do it themselves.
Yeah, independent, but also interdependent, because we feel each other's feelings. And like, I'll always be a support for my kids, just as my husband's always a support for me. And so to come to somebody and say, oh, I've had this really hard day and I'm struggling, and have that, you know, my daughters still like lean in for a hug if they've had a hard day. And that's really great. Like, that's smart. A regulation to go in for a 3-breath hug with someone you love, like that helps everybody feel better, and to talk about things that helps everybody feel better. But that's I would say that's interdependence, not independence. I mean, there's some independence there, but it's really interdependence.
I love that, because at the end of the day, you're a family. So we're all there to support each other. I love that.
Yeah.
It is the
no one does it alone. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking more of like not swooping in to solve their problems for them. That's that's where I was going with that. But because again, that took me years to also break that habit as a bad habit, to just swoop in and say, oh, let me fix everything. Let me be the savior here and let me fix everything, versus giving him the opportunity to look at a situation and say, okay, what do I need to do here to fix this? And then that gives him the confidence to know that he can fix his own problems, that you don't have to look to mommy or to daddy to fix whatever it happens to be going on in your life. And so, yes, so it is an independence and interdependence on that one. But I love the interdependence of when you're having a rough day or when you are going through something challenging.
Yeah. I mean, that's why sometimes I worry about I think right now people are really into being like rough on the word codependent, right? Like you hear that floating around a lot, codependent. And that's a word that comes apparently from like recovery circles, right? But it's not abnormal or bad or anything for us to care about others' feelings around us, like in our families, right? Like that's actually interdependence. That's we are, and we care about each other and we help each other regulate our feelings, and that's good and healthy.
I love that. No, I love that. Like the image that comes to my mind is like a web, like they say, like about the food web in nature, that the animals are all interconnected. And that's the case with us, not only as family members, but also as just members in a community, so that we're all connected. And so I love that word of interdependence. I think I'm going to keep that one, put it in my pocket, because I think that's a really great concept. What would you say to a parent who is not familiar with mindfulness practice and they want to pick up your book and say, like, I don't know, can I do this? Like, what would you say to them?
I would say yes, absolutely. I mean, it is for everybody. I mean, mindfulness can be many forms. It can be taken in many forms. Because mindfulness is really the choice to put our attention into what's happening in the present moment with an attitude of kindness and curiosity, right? So that we can make a thoughtful choice from that moment. So that's different from the way we kind of normally go through life on autopilot. We're checking off the to-do list. We're doing, it's a lot of going and doing. Especially in sort of a culture that is very, very achievement oriented. So mindfulness is about stopping and kind of taking stock. What am I seeing? What am I hearing? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? These are all objects of our mindfulness. And so it's a way of, it's not about stopping our thoughts. That's a myth. You're either dead or you've had a lobotomy if you're stopping your thoughts. So just don't do that. But it's what I've seen and what the research shows is that a deliberate mindfulness practice that we can practice every day, kind of like we make sure we get a little exercise every day, right? Training the mind a little bit every day can have enormous returns in that there's so much research on this. Like there's Johns Hopkins did a meta study of 47 different studies that show that mindfulness reduces anxiety, reduces depression, increases feelings of well-being, increases or decreases reactivity, right? So these are like all the things we need as parents. And I just find that it's that for me, I had to go back to that. I had to build that muscle in me. I had to give myself that time each day to, and you can practice mindfulness in many ways, but I do practice this classic sitting meditation. There's all kinds of things people can do. People can wash the dishes, or walking is also good. But I had to go back to that. And when I sit still and I take a moment, some time each day, however long or short it is, to just feel my breath, feel my body, and not deliberately not try to achieve or do anything for a few minutes, it builds so much awareness of my thoughts, my feelings, my sensations, and it helps me to be able to tolerate the sensations and feelings that arise in our body. Normally on autopilot, we're going and going and doing. So our attention is always on the next thing, and we're not even feeling necessarily what's in our body at all. And then we get to a hard moment, say with our kids, say you have a ticking time bomb, or if you have any kind of difficult moment, the stress response creates feelings in the body that feel so intolerable that you're reacting. And also your amygdala is cutting off access to the slower part of your brain, prefrontal cortex. But when you a little bit each day, you practice tolerating the feelings in your body, you get to a tough moment like that, and you're like, oh, I can feel the feelings in my body. Look, I'm feeling that sensation in the chest. I'm feeling the jaw tightening. And then all of these things allow you to become aware more quickly that you're going down that road and take steps to stop that. And it also helps you to, when your kid's having a difficult time, to be able to sit with that and tolerate that without, that, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. I have to fix it. I have to change it. I have to do something. No, a lot of times what our kids actually just need is us to just be there and be with them. And this practice can really help you just be with them when they really need it.
Yeah. Just being present with them.
Mm-hmm.
That, again, like I said, took me years to get to the point from where, I started as a parent to where I am now. That practice of just sitting in it, being with them without having to feel that you needed to fix it, to make them stop crying, to give them what they were asking for. Like, it takes a lot of practice. That doesn't happen overnight, but with the practice of mindfulness, it definitely becomes easier, and it's absolutely achievable to stay regulated, to help them get regulated if they're not regulated, and just to sort of be there together.
Yeah, it's like that. It's a practice of calming your stress response kind of on a daily basis, right? And so I do talks. I've done talks all around, and I talk about how to calm your stress response in the tough moments, and that's great. You should have those tools in your toolbox. You should not expect your nervous system to just be able to calm down because you would like it to.
You're like, yes, please.
But what a daily, what a regular daily practice of stopping the going and doing just for a few minutes does is to help you to calm it overall. And man, does that help enormously. And just to be present. I mean, we want to be able to access our whole brain, right, in all the tough moments. But there's actually like a quote. I'm sure I have it in Raising Good Humans. I haven't checked in a while, but that really is important to me when I think about this. When you love someone, this is what my teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master who passed somewhat recently, said. He said, when you love someone, the best thing you can offer is your presence. How can you love if you are not there?
That's a good one.
And when I think about how we're often not there, we're often in judgment, we're often critical. We don't necessarily want to be. I'm not saying this as a judgment of others. Like, this is how I am. This is how we all are, right? Like, when we're often just like getting the things done, or we're critical of ourselves, and then we turn that critical brain on our kids, and then we have to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And this goes by so fast. This is it. Yeah. It's not going to be like, and especially if you're training your brain to just do all the things and achieve it all and get it all done, and more, and do, and fill that schedule and go. You're going to get to your great vacation that you've planned with your kids, where you're planning to really be there with your kids. And you know what? You can't, because you have trained your brain to go and do and never be satisfied. So we have to, what we practice grows stronger. We know that about the brain. Like, this is neurology, like that. What wires together, what fires together, wires together. So if we want to be present for our kids, if we want to enjoy life, if we want to be satisfied with our life, if we want some measure of peace, if we want less anxiety, right? We have to practice those things, and we can practice it every day. We can practice it. And what we practice does go stronger. Just as what we were talking about earlier, when we practice skillful communication, it does get stronger. You do get less awkward. Just so you know.
You definitely do. Just because my situation is different from anyone else's situation doesn't mean that it doesn't work for other people. It's just that I might be an anomaly. Our situation is an anomaly.
I'm sure you practice some skillful means. They may not have been the ones on that script.
Yes, that's what it was. He just didn't respond to those particular scripts. Like, any of the Dr. Becky scripts never worked. But that doesn't mean to say that other ones don't. And I know for a fact, I have many friends who tell me that those worked perfectly for their children. It just, each child's temperament is different. And, just like everyone's personalities are different, people respond to different things. Just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean that it doesn't work for others.
But what you practice, like going back to like what you practice grows stronger. What you practice was, I'm going to be real with my kid, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to try to really understand them, really see them, really hear them, right? And that really requires, that's mindfulness, right? Like I'm going to put my attention in the present moment with kindness and curiosity for my kid, right? I'm using curiosity that's on the opposite of the scale of judgment. Sometimes people say curiosity by saying non-judgment. And so when you're practicing non-judgment, and what you practiced, it grew stronger.
Yes, it did. That definitely worked for us. Like I said, knowing him and seeing him for who he is and building our relationship on that made all of the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, Hunter, a question that I ask all of my guests, and I'm curious to see what you say today. My question is this. What do you think is the biggest modern mom problem right now?
Our phones. I think that's my gut response, is that it's really our phones. Our brains evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, but they're basically the same as they were in the Stone Age. And we have like an orientation reflex to, we are wired to notice minute changes in the environment because we would be in an environment that would change subtly every day. We'd be wired to notice minute changes so that we knew, oh, okay, an animal has been here. I can now find food there that is now ripe, whatever it is. And so I think we are being really overwhelmed by the amount of information because we only have so much capacity. And I think we're being pushed past that capacity. So I really do think it's our phones. And, that's setting some limits on that has to look different for everyone. But I think it's important to realize like that we do need to, until we can collectively take some action that helps us with this, it is kind of on us to say, okay, what are the habits and practices we're going to do as a family, as an individual, so that I'm not feeling so overwhelmed. When we feel overwhelmed and then we go to something like Instagram and we scroll through that to relax, our brain is actually taking in more and more and more information. And it's actually like not very relaxing to the brain. And it's actually taxing the brain. So it's making us more distracted, less mindful. It's making us less able to be present with difficult feelings with our kids. And now don't get me wrong. I use my phone all the time. I listen to podcasts while I get ready, while I eat my lunch, I read the news. I do all the things, but I can feel it, right? Like I can feel it when I've been on it too much, and I know that I need to set those boundaries. And for me, starting the day, without that really helps, setting maybe some boundaries on, I'm not going to at least do things like I'm not going to check email after 5 o'clock or do things like that. I mean, for me, those are boundaries that work for me, but they're not going to work for everybody. But I think we do need to be aware that these devices in our pockets are radically, radically changing our lives.
Yes, I agree 10,000%. And that's an answer that I hear often. Many times I hear, yes, technology, also social media comparison comes into that conversation as well. But I think you're right when it comes to our brains are different and our distractions. And then that goes back to being present, to bring the conversation full circle. When we're distracted by our phones, and then that gets us feeling a certain way because, our anxiety can creep up sort of the more time that we're on our phone, then that carries over to our relationships with our kids if they're trying to get our attention about something important too.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It can be hard to put it down.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a whole thing. Hunter Clarke-Fields, tell everyone, where can we find you? Where can we buy your books? Tell everyone all of the things.
Okay. You can find me on the Mindful Parenting Podcast. You're a podcast listener. You can find Raising Good Humans and Raising Good Humans Every Day and the Guided Journal anywhere books are sold. There's an audiobooks as well. And everything else at Instagram, I'm at Mindful Mama Mentor, and you can find me at mindfulmamamentor.com.
Excellent. Everyone, go listen to the podcast, read the books, check it out. This book is wonderful. I'm going to hold it up one more time. Raising Good Humans. I really genuinely enjoyed this one. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Tara. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clarke. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you could head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.
Did you know you can save money with the McDonald's app every single day? Yeah, I was surprised too. Deals every day right at your fingertips. I love a good deal, but the McDonald's app takes gaming the system to a whole new level. Just the other day, I treated myself to a 10-piece chicken nugget for only $1. Yeah, you heard that right. Just $1. All you have to do is order in the app. And get this, you can grab that deal once a week through December 2nd. The first time I discovered the deals in the app, I was honestly shook. I had to tell my whole group chat about it, and now we're always comparing who got the best app deal of the week. Plus, ordering ahead, total game changer, especially when I need a quick lunch or a treat after a long day. So why wait? Save money every day with the McDonald's app. Download it, get those deals, and treat yourself. You deserve it. Valid through December 2nd, 2024 at participating McDonald's. Offer valid one time per week. Excludes delivery. You must opt into rewards. So go check out McDonald's deals.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our FlexPath learning format lets you learn on your own schedule. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hey everybody, I'm Trevor Sikkema, host of the PFF NFL show, here to tell you what you can find on all of our shows throughout the week. On Mondays, we have the Grade Release Show, where myself and Dalton Wasserman break down every single game that you just saw in the NFL. On Tuesdays, we have the In the Trenches show with Ollie Connolly, as well as the Quarterback Breakdown with Seth Galina. On Wednesdays, we've got the Rookie Review with John Ledyard and the preview for the upcoming week in the NFL with Carmen Vitale. We also have fantastic fantasy football shows, betting shows, and college shows as well. So make sure you are subscribed to the PFF NFL show wherever you get your podcasts.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.